Hi there, welcome to my messy fingers. I am working on an 8x8 album that is going to feature Graphic 45's collection Steampunk Spells. Now I just finished a large one, a 9.5 by 9, and now I'm going to do an 8x8 because I had a stash of papers. And I think it would be a good time now to do it because Graphic 45 is kind of cleaning house on some of their older collections. So that means there's hopefully some good interest in it, and so I'm going to do an album. So I have two pieces of chipboard that measure 8x8, and then I have one that measures 1 7/8 by 8. This will give us two signatures, plus the inside and front and back panels will give us a total of 6 because you're going to have 4 with the 2 pages. I have a couple of strips of Tyvek. That's how I'm going to bind my cards, my chipboard together. These measured at 2 inches across, and then I scored at 7/8 of an inch and at 1 1/8 of an inch. I want a gusset in there, 1/4 inch gusset, because that's what is going to be open and in between my chipboard pieces, like so. This will allow flexibility. This stuff is, in my opinion, tear-proof. It is so resilient. It allows that cardstock to glide or float, if you will, over the Tyvek so that the cardstock's not running against the sharp edges. So I mount it to the outside to give the cardstock some protection, and it helps to minimize tears. I haven't had a tear issue in a very long time. So get your pieces ready, and then we're going to go ahead and get started in making this album. Hold on just one moment. I so apologize. My husband's getting ready to mow the lawn and I needed to close the door. Okay, so I am going to only remove at this point 1 strip of tape, and then I'm going to run this chipboard right on top of that gusset mark. Go ahead and take that piece off now. Now I'm going to bring in one of my 8x8 panels, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to run this edge right on that gusset mark, and at the same time make sure that my 2 layers here are even. Alrighty, let's get in here. Now I have several tutorials on how I make my albums. They're available in a separate playlist, and I was pulling them in when I make my mini albums, but I was told by several people it was kind of confusing, so I am now making the albums with the collection. Okay, running this edge, same process. Oh, for Pete's sake. Okay. And now we're going to take the other 8x8 panel. I'm going to make sure that these are level on my grid pattern. And then I'm going to place that right on there. All right, so there we have it. Now, this being a soft material, it will have a tendency to kind of buckle and fold in on you if you're not careful with how you work this. So when we go to add it in, I'll show you what I'm talking about. But for now, I'm going to put it aside. You're going to cut 2 pieces. This is 65-pound weight, but the internal pages will all be done with 100-pound weight. I like the sturdiness. It holds up better and it supports the signatures a lot better for me. So you're going to cut 2 of these. They're going to be 10.5 by 10, both of them. On one of them, you're going to put at least a 3/8 of an inch tape. And this is where our middle seam is going to be. And if I cut this right, start here at the bottom where I can see what I'm doing. Okay. Now I want that seam to be in the middle of the spine. It is your weakest point. You don't need to have additional stress with it being in between here or super close to these edges. So I always make sure that my seam is in the middle of my spine so it's equally supported. Now, when I cut this, I have a 1-inch border all the way around, and I am going to go ahead and add tape to this side. And I'm going to start. Now, if I fold back on that and give it a little bit of push, make sure that that chipboard edge is nice and tight against the Tyvek. Then I'm going to go to this other end and add a strip. And then I'm going to go in the middle. And then in the middle again. This is how I ensure that that cardstock stays up against the chipboard. Now I'm going to do that same thing here with the spine. Oh, get off my finger. And I'm going to push so that I can make sure that this edge is nice and tight. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I want to push and make sure that that edge is nice and tight. I'm going to run one down the middle. Now I'm going to turn it over, push, go to the opposite end, one down the middle, and one down the middle again. All right, let's give all of this a nice good burnish so that we get the air pockets and the crinkles and the buckles out. All right, this is for me the tricky part. I am going to remove just the centerpiece for now. I want to make sure that I'm in the middle and roughly one inch on the ends. Now I will pick this up, and with a great deal of twisting of the paper, I'll pull out these two strips. I simply do this because for me it's a safer way of not having to tear the whole thing apart when I've only got one strip of tape until I get it centered. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and start taking this off, and then I'll show you what I need you to pay attention to when you're laying this down if you haven't done this before. All right, this Tyvek is very easy for it to twist like this. You want to give this a nice little gentle tug so that this stays open and it's not collapsing on you, and then commit your paper and your tape. And then we're going to do the same on this side. A nice gentle tug, keeping the gussets open, and then commit. Good burnish. All right, I think I have more of a ledge down here than I do up here, but that's no big deal. All right, so I am going to run some tape around the perimeter, and then I'm going to run tape along the inner perimeter before we fold the flaps over. All right, now I'm going to run tape on the inside. I know this seems kind of ridiculous, this amount of tape, but if you've not made an album before, albums can fail based on how they're put together. So, in my opinion, there's never too much tape. I early on had some major failures where I thought, well, that's enough, and it wasn't, only to have the albums actually kind of collapse and fall apart. So it's not worth my reputation or the frustration for the buyer to have me try and fix things. All right, now I'm going to miter the corners, and I'm going to have it going to be off just a little bit because I've got more of an edge on this piece, that section there. start here on the end, and I'm just going to work the paper. And I'm going to pull this one back just a little bit because by the time I lay this down, I don't want it underneath the cardstock. So I'm just going to fold them back for just a little bit. And then I'm going to push and smash. I call it push and smash my corners in. And I'm just going to repeat that process. Get that cardstock ready to fold over. Oops, before I seal that down, I forgot to lift this out of the way. There we go. All right, let's turn it around, and I'm going to repeat that same process. Make sure I have my corners smashed in good there. Well, come on up there. Don't do that. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and take this off, and then I'll start working that other end. I forgot to smash and roll in this end. We'll get that done. All right, now taking a larger ball than I've been playing with, I'm going to gently lift this panel so that I can see where the cardstock edges are, and very gently I'm going to apply repeat soft pressure. What I'm doing is I'm pushing this cardstock down into the gusset. It just makes for a cleaner corner on the album. I'll show you here in a second. Now you got to be gentle because 65-pound weight cardstock or even 100-pound weight cardstock, if you push too hard, you're going to get a tear. Now if that happens and you get a tear, just take some glue that will dry clear and just glue that tear so that you can minimize it tearing anymore in the future. Now, when these close up, I don't have anything that's binding, and look how nice and sharp those corners look. All right, next piece. You're gonna wanna cut a piece that's 7 7/8 by 6 inches. I don't want this piece coming all the way to the end. I just want it to come just underneath the edges. I'm going to tape this section of my spine, and then I'm going to tape around the back side. I'm not going to tape these edges when I tape the spine because there's going to be tape already going down that will take care of and secure the spine piece. And if I run the tape any farther, then I risk having ends of tape showing, and I don't want that to happen. And when I get this taped, what I'm going to do is evenly space the 6-inch piece so that it will span the 2 panels and cover the spine piece. And then that's what we're going to attach our pages to here in just a few minutes. All right, let's take these up. All right. Need to trim that. Okay, so this being 6 inches across, I want it to be as balanced as I can between the left panel, the right panel, and the spine. And I want to just come a fraction of an inch off. And then I'm going to take the tape off. Now I'm not going to burnish this down just yet, because we're going to push some of this cardstock into the gusset, just like we did a few minutes ago. We're going to push some of it down in there so we can get nice, crisp, clean corners. So I'm going to give her a bend, find my edges. I think it might be easier for me to do it this way. Make a crease. This is 100-pound cardstock, so it's a little stiffer to play with. But I want that down in there as much as possible without tearing. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Nice, crisp corners. Okay. I got numbers on here, so I want to look at them right side up. Actually, I need to erase this because it will show. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. Now, what I did was I pre-cut a couple of pieces, and when I lay my album in, I do a close on the spine. I close it like this, and then I'm going to take my gusseted end and I'm going to pretend like it's attached, and I want to see where my paper falls here on the edge. Now I cut this at 7/8 across. I think I'm going to trim another 1/8 off. I don't like it this close because I do some buildups. That means my buildup is going to end on the outside. So this is going to be cut 7 7/8 by 8 1/2. You're going to want 2 of these. 7 7/8 by 8 1/2. there's that one. And there's that one. Okay, let's get some tape on them. I'm going to use 1/2-inch tape. Oh, gosh, I forgot to tell you. All right, so now I'm at 8.5 inches. You're going to do a 5/8 of an inch score here. I want a 5/8 of an inch gusset, not a half, not a quarter. I do a lot of good build-ups where I'm going to eat up probably a good quarter of this. So when my signatures fold or close, I need them to be able to have room in here for their placement. Okay, so now I'm going to put some tape, and hopefully these will lay in here nice and flat and not give me a lot of trouble. All right, now when I place this in here, being mindful that I have a gusset, a chipboard line right about here, I want this to just sneak right up to that. I don't want to be on top of it. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to gently lift, and I want to come just in front of the gusset fold, and I'm not level on the paper. Let go. I like talking to my projects. How did that lay in there straight? I do believe it did. And the test will be this one. So I'm going to come right up underneath here with this one. Whoops. Couldn't see what I was doing. I'm just going to gently put that down and hope these two lay straight. Look at that. Now, so what you end up with here is, if this is your chipboard line right here, where this gusset edge is, and I'm playing with fire right now. You have a 5/8 gusset, 5/8 and 5/8, so that everything's got equal spacing. All right, there you have it. 8x8 album. Not covering these, it's a waste of cardstock because your pattern paper is going to be used to cover this. So we will deal with that when we get ready to start covering and working the album. So there you go. I'll see you when we start covering it. Until then.